What's up, YouTube? Got another story for you. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna keep saying all these stories because all of it's getting off my chest and out of my mind. Y'all don't want to listen? Then don't hit the play button. Yeah, I was working for my uncle. It was after uh, Tiffany had gotten us in trouble for the emissions on my van. Yeah, she hid the paper. Then she fought with the sweetest landlord in the world. She did all this on purpose. She was trying to ruin my reputation up there. So I would have to bend and bow to her for everything, if you know what I mean. That's what her mother taught her to do, was bend everything and make sure that everything falls in your name. That way, when you go to leave, it's a lot easier because everything's legally yours, even though she didn't pay for none of it. Why didn't you see that come? I don't know. I was young. We did have talks about it. It did come up. I guess she was just really good at convincing, even though I guess this is why they call hindsight 2020. Don't be giving me shit. Look at what you fuckers do out there. Same thing. So shut up. I ain't the only one that this has happened to. But anyway, we were doing a job in Conowingo, and Uncle John made up this bullshit excuse to not, take me all the way home. He was going to drop me off at town, and I had to walk all the way home, which was like shit, 10 miles. Which made no sense because 95 was right next to my house, and the road that he was taking to go to 95 was literally one road before my home, and it just pissed me off. Somehow, Tiffany knew that Uncle John was dropping me off, and it was weird because Uncle John's never done that. Yeah, that's what I pay gas money for whenever my vehicle was down or this or that. But anyway, he did that on purpose, and I think it was because she was talking to him or Aunt Yvonne, which what the fuck are you doing? You barely ever talk to them. You act like you hated them when I was around. But apparently, you're finding out info because you were setting up for something that night. Yeah, that was the night Uncle John talked me into drinking wine that his buddy had in a box because I had never had it and I liked wine, but I didn't want to drink. And yeah, I drank two glasses and she knew it and she started fucking with me on the ride home, even though she bugged the shit out of me to get in that car. I should have never done that. She had little David with her, and I was, goofing off and talking to him, just ignoring her. I didn't want to talk to her at all. And we get to the house, and I said, "Thanks for the ride." I went to get out, and she said something to get my attention along the lines of, "You're not going to talk to me at all." And I just happened to look her direction, and I should have never done that either, because that's when she punched me in my face. That's when I got out the car, and she got out, and then she goes to follow me, and that's when I shoved her away from me because she's trying to block me from going in the house. And I didn't really like shove her, like, so she fell on her ass and all that. I just grabbed her, moved her to the side, and walked around her. And she started arguing and all that to get my attention. And again, I turned around to be like, "That's fucking what?" Because of course she says something that is so fucking outlandish. "You're just doing this to start a fight." No, bitch, this is what you're doing to start a fight. I didn't want to be anywhere near you. Remember that? Then this is why. Yeah, she did everything she could to manipulate something to go down that night. Then after I get hit, she wants to like try to headbutt me, and she slammed her forehead against mine, and I just laughed at her. And she's like hit me in the midsection and all that, and I'm just laughing at her. And that's when my neighbor, which was a cop, heard the commotion, and him and his wife come over and start trying to break my fence. And that's when I, you know, did the same thing again. Basically, grabbed her arms, sidestepped her, and went to them because he's destroying shit. And he's like, "Oh, I seen it all, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Motherfucker, we've been out here for 2 hours, and you just came out in the last 10 minutes. There ain't no fucking way you seen the whole thing." And he's got his cop belt on it. His wife's like, "Oh, you threatened him." I said, "All I said was there was no way he's seen the whole thing. How is that threatening him? He's over here breaking and destroying property. He has no right to do so." Yeah, he had his wand out breaking the fence. And it's only three rung. I mean, literally, you can bend down and go right through the middle. But no, his fat ass is breaking it because he can't fit through it. Instead of just walking around, it ain't like there's a gate. But anyway, 15 state boys pull in, and one of my friends was the lead that night. And he's trying to talk me down because he knows I'll beat the fuck out of half the boys there. And I know a lot of, oh, yeah, right. No, I will. And he knew it. He's been at other incidences where I was beating up 10 to 15 people at a time. And I'm the only one. So there you go. And yes, I started throwing state troopers because I was not in the wrong. They tried to say I was in the wrong after that. But yeah. Sorry, boys. If unlawful arrest, you're not arresting me. I'm not that type of citizen to just be like, okay, you can talk to my lawyer. No, you're not fucking taking this boy easy, especially if I'm not to be arrested. And that's that. Taser, bring it. You better have a couple of them. You gonna need it. But yeah. Oh, she knew my temper. She's watched me beat up people for fucking disrespecting her brother, you know, shit like that. Other girls and stuff while we were out. Now, these girls were actually innocent in this situation, and so was she. These were just assholes trying to, I guess, show off. Didn't work too well. Yeah, being in the situation, you can pretty much tell. Sometimes you get manipulated. Yeah, kind of like my neighbor was manipulated, but he deliberately manipulated himself. You're a cop and you're not going to factor in you weren't there for 90% of what went on, and then you're going to say you've seen everything. Yeah, that's manipulation right there. Anybody would have said, well, to be fair, no, we didn't catch the beginning, but we did catch, this, what is going on. That I could have understood. But you ain't going to come out in the middle of a, or at the end of a situation to be like, I seen everything, even though I'm holding this girl. I'm not, throwing her around or beating her up or anything. I'm just holding her. What am I supposed to do? Just stand there and keep letting her hit me? Yeah. No, that ain't happening either. I love how the law thinks they tell you what to do with your body. Pretty funny. You can't stop a woman from murdering a kid because, oh, it's her body, even though it's two different DNAs mixed together, but whatever. The moment you laid down and had sex with this man, you chose to use your body as a possible home for both of your child. It's not yours anymore. It's technically being rented. And yes, you were 50% of that equation. And if you really want to be technical and go by who pushed for it more, most likely it's the woman. She doesn't have to say it all the time. She can do it just with her body language and what she's doing. And that's what they do. They flirt, they get guys all worked up, and then they're like, no, stop, no. And then they keep going. Right. They know what they're doing. Have I fallen for that? I would like to say not that exact scenario, but they knew I wouldn't fall for that one. So they switched it up. They asked for kids and marriage, and I was so great. And yeah, that's what they do. Because the other one didn't work. So I guess I had to step up the game. But yeah, she was in her mom's little black car, the one that I found for her from a guy named Randy, which she already knew him, but he wasn't going to sell it to her. And I was like, Randy, she needs a car. He's like, but she's going to destroy it. I said, yeah, I know, but at least you get the money you need because nobody else is wanting to buy it. You've had it out there for almost a year, and nobody's even said anything but her. And he's like, yeah, but she wants it for this. I said, well, meet her in the middle, you know? That way, she doesn't get it for the price she wants. You don't necessarily get it for the price you want. You both kind of, you know, lose a little. There you go. And that's what he did. And she agreed. Then I'm the one who did all the work on it so it would pass inspection. Yep. Like I said, they use men like that. Oh, please, I can't afford that. Even though she could afford it, she's robbing three other people. She can afford it. Well, why didn't you say it? Because she's going to lie and they're going to believe her. Then I'm going to be the one in trouble. That's why. Trust me, I seen her do it to her neighbor friend that she was robbing. She tried to take her to court and say this and that, and Tiffany's mom flipped it on her. I don't know how, but she did. So I was like, well, can't go that route. Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing that happened with this accident. They just took her as an innocent grandmother that just, oh, passed out at the wheel. There's no fucking way. I'd like to know who falls asleep at the wheel and keeps perfect speed without dropping a mile per hour or going up any miles per hour up a hill, all uphill. So, not only that, straight in the wrong lane, straight in the lane. Didn't go across the lane and into the woods or off the road, deliberately into the lane, right at the only vehicle there. That vehicle even moves and gets back into the open lane, which was her lane. And then you can see them about to pass each other. And literally, seconds before they get ready to clear each other, she turns right into them, going uphill. Yeah, you're not sleeping. You're not passed out. You're not sleeping. You didn't drop no cell phone. You never even touched the fucking brake. Right. That's why you were running those kids around without seatbelts. You were waiting for an excuse or to use it for something to happen and then use that as an excuse. That's all you ever thought about is using kids as money. You never give a shit about them. You didn't even give a shit about your own kids. Tiffany, you turned into a gold digging little fucking street walking patsy. Tony, you dumbed down because you were too fucking lazy to teach him what he needed to know, which you were able to use as he's got mental problems. You did it. You fucking did it. You made him slow, or at least appear slow. Tony wasn't as bad as you made him out to be. If you put him in an environment where he got interested in what was going on, he would do the things he needed to do. You were the one that would keep him depressed, in bed all day, and baby him to a certain extent, just enough to where he wouldn't take care of himself. And the only reason she had enough energy to do that is because it was ensuring that she got money. Pretty funny, she didn't have the energy to make sure he had a productive day or that he was learning what he needed to learn. But you can go out and do all this shit. Yeah, I know Johnson Controls has a lot of chemicals and all that in it. You didn't get messed up because somebody left the vent off. You turned it off, said it was off, said you got exposed, because I guarantee you an alarm went off in that building and you were like, how can I use this? You were around all those chemicals all the time. So it had nothing to do with that. Johnson Controls is one of the companies that is responsible for the uh, stuff going around right now that's in the ground, the food, the water, your clothes, every freaking hygiene product you buy, it's in all of it. That's what they've been finding in Ohio. They tried to cover it up with the rain or the train spill, which the train spilled more of that chemical. You know, the Teflon chemical. Yeah. You think that was a coincidence? You think they put that in everything you cook with and every restaurant that cooks for you? All your food, all your stuff? Oh, yeah. That was just an accident. Yeah, right. They knew it. This is how they created a $180 billion industry. Look at your breakfast foods. They knew that cooking eggs in grease, like they did, uh, all of it. That's why they made it the first meal of the day. It was to set in heart disease, cancer. Yeah, that's why coffee, toast, eggs, bacon, sausage, all that stuff was considered an American breakfast. Yeah, they knew it. Just like them switching you to all these new healthy supposed seed oils that are better than that. You know, like the canola oil and all that stuff. It all has the same shit. You're not getting away from nothing. You're still doing the same thing. So, and it's funny, they've been dropping aluminum oxide and all that throughout the air. They put up these towers. It sounds like they're covering you in metal to turn you into an antenna or to make whatever electrical thing coming along actually sticks to you. Kind of like, you would do to a board. You add metal to it so it'll flow. Right. But it also messes with your gut. It also messes with the bad bacteria in your body. And if you notice, what's in baby food? Heavy metals. See what I mean? They're hitting you every which way they can. And it's funny. People are like, well, how come more people aren't being affected? They are. Everybody's being affected. Look at how everybody's acting. Yeah. Some of them, it's mental issues that are called like getting that's, their side effect that they're getting. Some of them, it's weight issues or health issues. A lot of them are having gut issues. That's another reason why cancer is through the roof. Human papillomavirus, which is found in 80% of women. That's another thing that pushes cancer. Yeah, a lot of these things were designed and pushed because they knew what they would do. not accidents. And big business can just pay a couple $1 million and, oops, our bad. Just like Facebook did for destroying families. Couple $1 million, even though they're getting paid billions. So that's like paying $5 for destroying people's lives. Yeah, fucking ridiculous. I mean, come on. SpaceX is dead center of all the money missing from the Pentagon. We are 38 trillion in debt. Uh, Everybody's talking about the debt, but nobody's talking about all the money that we had before we went into debt. So they didn't just put us 38 trillion into debt. They also took a lot more than that. You know, the budget of the country, how are we 38 trillion in debt? When did we become in debt that far? Right? All these presidents since Bush, Clinton, Bush, and on. Didn't I tell you? Bush was the director of the CIA. Guess who they pulled out of the water at Pearl Harbor, supposedly? Bush Jr. Guess how old Bush Jr. was when he took out JFK? 17. I still think that's skewed because he was already known in the Army as the lone wolf. Was he allowed in the Army at 17 and 16 then? I mean, I know they enlisted, but I thought they were supposed to kick him out. Maybe they didn't. All I know is how come George Bush Jr. is in the middle of all these major conflicts that they knew about before they happened. They knew about Pearl Harbor. Yes, they did. The Rothschilds has set up every conflict you have ever seen, even down to the Civil War, because they got paid from both sides. Yes, they were like the middle sibling going around starting fights and getting benefiting off of what takes place, taking over land, taking over, you know, leaders by putting them in debt. And what are we in debt? Where did Elon come from? Africa, supposedly. Where did all the bad Jews go after they hung Jesus? Ethiopia. Where does a lot of the religious stuff go back to? Ethiopia. Come on, man. You guys can't put this shit together? So easy. No, Rothschilds aren't the only ones. Almost like, how you have like a group of friends. Okay, well, what if you had a group of evil friends? Elon, Zuckerberg, Gates, all of them. And let's say they're all friends with people that know the Rothschilds, or families that know the Rothschilds, or one of their groups. Well, now they're capable of doing things that most people wouldn't be capable of, right? Right. Well, they know what they're about. They know what they want. If they want their money, all they got to do is appeal to what they want. And it looks like that's what they did. Yes, everybody knows that even, garage bands, like when they would start and try and get big, they would try and find any record label that would take them. What if this is the same way, but with tech stuff? Because it sure as hell seems like it. But instead of going to evil record labels, they went to evil politicians and evil, world leaders, or the people that run the world leaders, which are the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, etc. There are 10 elite families that decide the laws and the rules for every country, not just ours. That's why the United States is divided into 10 sectors. That's why George Soros is allowed to say whatever the hell happens with Illinois. I believe he has say over LA too, but I'm not sure. But that's also why Bill Gates has got how much farmland? And we've already seen him talking about, you know, curing supposed, I think it's malaria with mosquitoes, and then he released them in Florida, and then we had a malaria outbreak, one something that we haven't had in decades. And right after all the crazy stuff with the hurricanes, we get this dude saying that he wants to wrangle hurricanes. Maybe they're just improving because he said that shit about the one thing before the mosquito were released and broke out. Exactly what he said he was trying to, you know, prevent. Just like with the vaccinations. He said we can do real good with depopulation by 10% each year if we do real good on vaccinations. Do you guys know how to read between the lines? He's basically saying we can kill people 10% each year if we do real good on vaccinations. And then you had a pandemic that he swore was going to happen. Just like Sinbad doing the imploding of buildings for New Year's instead of the ball dropping in, I think it was 96. I believe it was 96 is when he did that. Then 4 years later, sorry, 4 or 5 years later, we have 9/11. Really? Looks like practice. I mean, come on, man. I don't get it. I just, I don't get it. How did you guys not put this together? Your parents, you have kids that try this stuff on smaller scales and you put it together. How come you cannot put this together? Do you really need somebody to come out and tell you? It's right there. Do you realize how much money they got paid for 9/11? Trillions. They got paid trillions of dollars and paid out millions. That was a business transaction and to cover records. That was Bush and his father.